Okay, welcome to the first live stream for Legal Vices. We're going to start out our very first live stream with a review of the Alec Baldwin police interrogation video. It was just released. I haven't seen it yet in its entirety, haven't reacted to it. I just saw the first little bit and thought this is something that needs to be commented on. While we're doing that, we'll be getting into one of my legal vices. We've got the 109 proof, 54.5% Willet Straight Rye Whiskey. This is going to be good. And it helps if you take the lid off. All right, let's get into this video. This is Alec Baldwin police interrogation immediately after he just started blasting on the cinematographer. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone actually joins and jumps in. We'll see. Let's take it and see what happens. And bring up the video. Boom. And we'll make it nice and big. All right, this is the police station where Alec Baldwin went.
Either of those chairs, I thought he was coming with you, so guess not. Alex, I'm the detective on the case. And
he's got the detective coming in there.
Okay. We'll be in here in just a minute, okay?
Now, this is an interesting thing that the police will often do. They'll bring in the suspect, they'll put them in the room and just leave them there to see what they do, how they act, kind of get a sense of their body language, see if they do something stupid. And right now you can see something stupid that Alec Baldwin's doing. What is he doing wrong in this exact situation? What he's doing is he has no lawyer. Oh, who's he? He's calling somebody now. Who is he calling? I hope he's calling his lawyer. He needs to be calling his lawyer. Call your lawyer, Alec.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, boomer. I'm not a boomer. I'm almost, but this is like the typical old man thing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is this thing on? Oh, he's calling somebody else now.
Hey.
I'm at the police station, sheriff's, and they're about to interview me. How is everyone at home? How are the kids?
I was talking to
the kids are great. The kids
talking
are
to
great.
baby mom.
Did you hold on a second, please? Did you tell Carmen what's going on?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Are you convinced you don't want to come tomorrow?
I mean, I don't think it's a good idea. Look, call me after you talk with the sheriff, but like, I don't think it's a great idea. I think this is, you know.
But let me say this to you, just to be clear. They're going to make me stay here tomorrow anyway. Talk to the insurance investigators. This is really, I'm going to talk to you more, but I'm just saying.
I'm so sorry. You must have such you must be so traumatized.
No, what I am is someone who, I don't want to do this for a living anymore. I don't want to be a public person. And, I'm the one holding the gun in my hand that everybody was.
Oh, Alec Baldwin doesn't want to be a public person now. Yeah, that sort of rings just a little bit hollow. Can you imagine how stressed and freaked out he must be right now? He's just blasted some woman. He doesn't know if she's alive or dead. The bullet went through her and into the guy next to her. He's in this interrogation room without his lawyer. Do not do this. There are so many videos out there on YouTube saying exactly the same thing. Do not talk to the police without your lawyer present. Exercise your rights. Do not do this. The police are not your friends. No matter what they say, they're not trying to help you. Shut up. Don't talk to them. Ask for your lawyer. Alec Baldwin, as a serious actor, a public figure, someone with years of experience doing things, should know this. This is insane.
supposed to have taken care of. They always hand me a cold gun. Where are you now?
And this cold gun, hot gun thing, I've never heard that anywhere
Michelle,
before.
who? And where are you? Okay, all right. All right, I'll call you back when I'm done, okay?
Yeah, you're done, Alec. Playing with his phone. This is all being recorded and watched. He has to know that. He's calling somebody else. Oh, that's just grand. Who's he calling this time? Better be the lawyer. Call the lawyer, Alec. Alec, call your lawyer.
Hi, Alex.
Hey, where are the kids?
You're sleeping.
The boys are
I'm just
sleeping.
gonna take. Yeah, I'm gonna go
Did she tell you what's going on? I'm trying to convince her to come. I think we should come. And just spend the time here, and they're going to do what they got to do with and deal with what they got to deal with. And we shouldn't let it. We'll go. I won't work, and we'll go enjoy ourselves. It's all paid for, and they're not going to give us the money back.
And we should be staying away from the vultures here.
Are they outside?
No, but I imagine they will be at some point. They're
I
going
think
to
it's a
find
great
out.
idea.
What, are you planning a vacation after he shot somebody into some small little
I'll
island
call
somewhere?
Carmen on her iPad, okay?
Okay, yeah, she's on her phone. I'm very sorry, actually.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea how unbelievable this is and how strange this is.
Oh,
No,
yeah, that's
strange
really
idea.
strange. You point a
I
gun
know,
at
it's
someone,
just-
you pull the hammer back, and you shoot.
I'll call you back. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Bye-bye.
pretty strange. Weird. Okay, so the police were out of the room for 4.5 minutes. Oh, it's two female police officers.
Hi, Samantha.
One is wearing her Chuck Norris action jeans, I see. All right.
So,
Lady
now you're
officers.
here. So this incident that was unfortunate earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you already agreed to talk to us and everything, and that's great. We're just gonna go over the rights. She's gonna read these to you. As you understand them, and just sign an initial, and then, if you read the bottom and agree to talk to us, you
Initial each
sign.
of them.
As you understand them, yes.
Yeah, so first one, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in court or other proceedings. You have the right to consult with an
Alec,
attorney
they're
before
reading
making
your
any
rights.
statement or answering any questions, and you may have him or her present with you during questioning. You may have an attorney appointed to you to
They're
represent
reading you
you
your
in the court
rights.
one,
This
or otherwise
means you are
obtain
now
them.
a suspect.
If you decide to answer any questions now with or without a lawyer, you have the right to stop questioning at any time
Stop
or
questioning.
stop questioning for the purpose of consulting a lawyer.
Stop
My only question is, am I
questioning to
being
consult
charged
a
with
lawyer
it?
now.
No, we're just
Yeah.
reviewing.
I don't know, that's what
Oh, we're just interviewing.
But it's,
That's another thing. You're not being charged with anything. You're just being interviewed. If they have read you your rights, you are not just being interviewed. You're being interrogated as a suspect. Exercise your rights to shut the fuck up.
I'm worried because I'm not, yeah.
we
But
have to do
you're
our
charging me
job
with something.
at
Yeah, no, just tell me that.
advising you your rights,
write my
because
name here?
this is an investigation.
Oh,
Just a formality.
it's,
That's the way you're here.
it's just a formality to sign your rights away.
What is today?
It is the 21st of October.
That's just a formality. Sign here saying you waive all of your rights. You've been read everything. Shut up, Alec.
Well, what's interesting, not to digress on some commentary here, is that we've done this for 2 weeks and we did it the right way every day. Every day. You're on a set, you rehearse, they bring you what's called a cold gun. The gun is either completely empty, the chambers, or there is a cosmetic piece. So for example, if you're the camera, and this is gonna sound silly and specific, but if I'm pointing the gun close to the camera, you wanna see into the cylinder that there's material in there, cosmetic material. So those rounds are cosmetic rounds.
Right.
They put them in and you rehearse, or even in a shot when you don't fire. I pull the gun and you see there's some material inside the cylinder. They'd hand me a cold gun, no charges. They always hand you a cold gun with nothing in it to rehearse.
Okay. They haven't even asked a single question. And he is getting into all these big explanations about how you point a gun at somebody, showing he's an expert in and familiar with how the prop guns work. He knows what to look for. He knows that there should be something in the cylinder if you want to see it, or it should be empty. They haven't asked him a single question, and he's already letting them know that he's negligent. This is crazy that he doesn't have a lawyer with him. This is just insane.
And then when you shoot, if you are shooting loads that are flash loads, and they're usually in 3 denominations, quarter, half, or full load rounds, so that the
well, you shot your full load on this one, Alec.
now is loud, louder, loudest. Full load is loudest. So if you're outside, you want a full load, bang, you want a loud sound. If you're inside, you can do a quarter load. Right before you shoot, everyone preps. Crew puts the earplugs in, some put headphones on. The camera's there. Very often there's a loose, tight screen. But you're the camera operator, and there's the camera. So I should always shoot off camera. You never shoot into the lens. And you shoot it. There's a flash and a sound. Now,
you never shoot into the camera. You never shoot into the lens. You just shoot at the cinematographer. You just shoot at the cinematographer. You shouldn't be shooting at the cinema. I'm going to keep saying cinematographer, aren't I? You don't point at the cameraman. You don't point at the cinematographer. Oh man, this is so he's Alec.
I went to lunch. She disarmed me. I sat down.
She being
Hannah, the armaments person. She was always handling the guns, 99% of the time. So I would, if I had a cosmetic rifle with no rounds, I'd hand it to one of her assistants. I'm sitting there. She disarms me. We go to lunch. We come back from lunch, and they hand me the revolver, the Colt.
And I just like the name. It's Hannah again.
They arm me, and you're assuming, as we've done every time, that it's a cold gun for the rehearsal.
Do not assume any gun is unloaded. Do not assume a gun is a prop gun. Do not assume a gun is a toy gun. You should never make assumptions about guns. How many movies has Alec Baldwin done? How many times has he held a gun in his life? Prop gun, real gun, otherwise. You should never assume. You are the final arbiter of whether that gun is pulled, cocked, used, etc. It doesn't matter if 1,000 people touch it or 1,000,000 people touch it. You are the last line of defense against a mishap. That's why, like, in the area of law that I focus on, admiralty law, no matter what happens on a ship, the captain is ultimately the responsible party. Even if he had nothing to do with the incident, the captain is always ending up being held responsible for it because he is the ultimate person on the ship. Alec is the man with a gun. He's the producer of this movie, if I recall correctly. He's already throwing the armament girl under the bus.
And I put the gag in the shot. You're the camera because I have a coat and I have a holster, and I pull the coat over, and I kind of cup my hands like I folded my hands. And then I'm going to slowly sneak the revolver, the Colt out, and turn and shoot these other guys, or try to shoot them.
But you didn't try. You did
The coat
shoot
over the thing, and the camera's there.
Cinematographer.
I believe, my recollection is she was there, turned a bit, like talking to him. So I think she was hitting the right armpit. But this is all I know, and that is that I take the gun out in the rehearsal. He wants it very dramatic and very slow. I'm trying to sneak up on them. I take the gun out, and as it clears, as the barrel clears, I turn and cock the gun over here. I turn and cock the gun goes off.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a cold gun. Nothing. No flash charges, nothing. Now, this is a puzzle to me. This is making me very emotional now, but in my time, and I'm older now.
He's not showing
But when I was younger and I was shooting guns and stuff, I've never seen a theatrical flash round where the material went through someone's armpit, came out their body, and hit somebody else in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, guess
I'm
it
wondering
wasn't a
if
flash
your
round.
department is prepared to go find out what comes out of his shoulder surgically. Is that a live round?
Oh, yes,
That's
they're
what we
prepared.
are actually looking
Is that a
at.
lot? Because it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Yeah.
It hits her in the armpit, comes out her shoulder, goes into his shoulder, and he just told me on the phone, I talked to Joe. He said, they showed me the x-ray, and the shape of the thing in my shoulder is the shape of a bullet. Now, all the rounds, I was told, you need to verify, I think this is an important note, they take the gun, they enter, and all the rounds that are in there were either dummy rounds, no flash, cold rounds, or rounds with a flash. In the rehearsal, there should have been nothing. It should have been a cold gun.
Well, you
with
should
no
have checked that.
rounds
It's a
inside,
revolver.
dummy rounds.
You don't have to do
Okay.
anything other than look
No flash.
to see
I
if there's
take the gun
anything
out slowly,
in the
I try to
chambers.
cock the pistol,
You just,
bang, it goes off, she hits the ground, she goes down. He goes down, screaming. He said, Jesus Christ, and I'm going, and I thought that maybe sometimes the wadding can come out if you're closer to get a burn.
yeah, that's how Brandon Lee and
Two actors who killed themselves
yeah.
with guns, with theatrical guns, John Eric Hexum
John Eric Hicks, yeah.
and Brandon Lee, they put the live round in, and I'm told even with the flash powder, you can cause contusions and you can do a
Sure.
brain bleed and die, which both of them died.
Yeah. So
I think
even
with
knowing
Brandon
that
Lee,
a dummy round
a piece of material lodged in the
is
thing that
potentially
shot them or
lethal,
something.
you
I don't
didn't
remember
even
vividly.
bother
My point is,
to look.
I've been doing this, I
Not
shot
directly
enough
down the
guns in my
barrel.
day in movies. I've never seen this before, where a flash round, because from my understanding is, can I borrow your pen
Of
for a minute?
course.
Oh my God, he's going to diagram this. Perhaps his one viable defense would have been, I don't know anything about guns. I don't know anything about rounds. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a stupid actor that memorizes and repeats words on camera. But now he's laying down this whole, I'm an expert, let me draw this for you.
You could even borrow it.
My understanding is that in a bullet, here's the thing with the pin, and here's the bullet itself. And now here, when you have a cosmetic round, no flash, no nothing, they drill a hole in the side of the brass to signify that it's.
And did you check to see if there was a hole?
There's no powder. But when you have a flash round, and there's stuff in there, wadding and powder to make the charge. This material here, that is the bullet, is made of a clay or some material that just disintegrates. So what you have is bang, and you see the flash go bang, and you hear the sound, but nothing, there's no projectile.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm curious about is what came out of that bullet that went through her body and into his shoulder.
Yeah, a piece of lead.
I've never heard of it. Now, some people say you can lodge material in the barrel accidentally, a rock.
So he didn't. I mean, for those of you that have never seen a revolver, you have the barrel, and then you have in the cylinder, you have the individual chambers where the bullets are. Don't look directly down the barrel, but you just look at the side of the gun and you can see if there are bullets in the chamber. He didn't do that. Someone gave him a gun. He did not even look at it. That is absolutely negligent, to not even check your own weapon. All he had to do was just glance and see what was in the chamber. He should have opened the cylinder, removed the rounds, and checked them himself. He should have checked to see if the barrel was clear. That seems to be what he's saying, that something may have been lodged in the barrel. That's the beauty of a revolver. You can look right down the barrel when the cylinder is open. He did none of this. He just picked up a gun that somebody handed him, pointed at a woman, and pulled the damn trigger. And now he's explaining exactly to the police, without his lawyer present, exactly how he did this. And diagramming on a piece of paper, which they are going to keep. That is now evidence. They're going to keep that piece of paper. And when he tries that defense of, I don't know anything, it wasn't my responsibility, it was her deal, they're going to say, well, you see these pictures here you drew, you seem to know a lot about bullets at that point in time. You sure seem to know about what this should have looked like, but you didn't bother to check it.
Something that happens, which is why every time we've done this, I'm here to tell you, to testify that every time we've done this, she's done it right.
That's the point of an accident, Baldwin.
Nothing was lodged in there.
Everything goes perfectly until it doesn't.
Going hot. crew gets ready, and then all of a sudden you're the camera, and I shoot away from you. I sit there like, bang, 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 and flashes are coming
Yeah,
out.
you
when
didn't shoot
the
away, you
rounds.
shot at.
She cleans the barrel every time, and she checks that the rounds are all cosmetic rounds, or nothing in the chamber for the rehearsal. She hands me the gun. I'm assuming she's done it the right way. She's done it the last 2 weeks. I put it in the holster. I pull it out slow. We're rehearsing. We're not filming anything. I pull it out slow, turn, cock the pistol, bang, it goes off, and she hits the ground. And then he starts screaming. And I'm thinking,
Well, yeah, because he got shot.
in a flash round, I could see maybe if there was wadding or there's some stuff that's hot, and maybe it hits you and burns you. And then, as they say, sometimes that happens. But remember, we're rehearsing, so no one's protected.
It's all supposed to be this one, cosmetic one.
We're rehearsing so no one's protected. We're rehearsing so no one is protected. Does that mean that people should be protected sometimes? That implies that it's a dangerous activity. If people need to be protected and need to wear protection, he's engaging in a dangerous activity, which means he should have been careful and had a reasonable duty of care, I believe, to make sure he doesn't shoot someone in the face or the chest or armpit or wherever he ended up shooting her. This is so stupid. I mean, it enrages me as a rational person. It enrages me as a lawyer. It enrages me as a gun owner that someone would be this irresponsible around a weapon. I mean, I grew up in Utah, and I mean, we took hunter safety courses in middle school. I've owned a gun in some form or other. I think I got my first BB gun when I was 6 or 7. And you take the hunter safety courses, and day 1, minute 1, the very first thing they say is never point a gun at something you do not want to destroy. The second thing they tell you is never assume a gun is unloaded. This is such basic information.
Or nothing.
Or nothing.
For the rehearsal, the gun is normally empty.
Yeah,
But
normal.
my point is that
That's why you check it
they
every
were
time.
standing
That's
in
why
positions they
multiple
wouldn't
people check
ordinarily
this
be in,
weapon
because they
on set
assumed it was an empty, cold gun.
to make
We weren't
sure
shooting, we were
that don't
rehearsing. That's a vital
assume.
difference. So if she's here, if the camera's here,
Oh yeah, diagram
and
exactly.
she's standing here
how
talking to the gun, and I'm on a bench here, and Joel's behind her, and this is not proportionate, because obviously the camera's not as big as her body, but I draw the gun slowly and aim off camera, and there's supposed to be nothing in there.
you aimed.
So
He's
she's not
saying I
protecting
aimed.
herself and
He
standing off.
aimed the gun at
I'm
her.
shooting in a direction, and everybody is supposed to be to that side of the camera. There's nobody in my line.
There's nobody in his line when he drew it. Well, I beg to differ. The guy that got shot in the shoulder begs to differ. The cinematographer's corpse begs to differ. You have to figure that whole sweep of him drawing from the point he takes it out of the holster and sweeps to where he is going to fire. There should be no one in that arc. He said there was no one in his line. I'm just assuming he means there was no one where he intended to end up with that shot. I'm assuming that's what it was. I'm assuming he meant there was nobody directly where he intended to shoot. There may have been a lot of people in that arc from the time he took it out of his vest or coat or whatever and swung it around.
Nobody.
Somebody.
And so when I shoot the gun,
At
so
least
in the
two.
rehearsal, I'm assuming I have an empty gun, and the gun goes off. She's right in front of me.
Mhm.
She's as far from me as I am from between difference between maybe you and the door.
Okay,
Like
so pretty
another-
close proximity.
It was a very tight shot.
Okay.
The shot was here, of me, not of me, it's of me pulling the gun slowly, turn cock.
Okay.
And she's right there, vulnerable, in a position she wouldn't ordinarily be if we were shooting, and this thing, boom, she hits the ground.
If he says the word assume
I'm gonna back
one
you
more
up a little bit,
time,
okay? How long have you been on set?
I arrived Monday the 11th,
Okay.
and started my fittings, and they were shooting the week before.
And the 11th of October?
Monday the 11th, I flew in from New York. I flew from New York to Denver, Denver to Albuquerque, because there's no direct flights, and then
Okay,
from
there
Albuquerque to here.
Seemed to be
Rehearsed
establishing
and
where he
fitted in the middle
was,
of my
what he was
preparatory stuff.
doing.
So that was in October, correct?
That was Tuesday the 12th, yeah. I flew on the 11th, rehearsed on the 12th, started shooting the 13th, Wednesday the 13th. I started shooting.
Okay.
Started
We shoot a
shooting.
Wednesday.
Started
through
blasting.
Sunday. We're off Monday, Tuesday.
So the entire time you've been on set, have you seen the same armor?
And her
working
crew,
with you
yeah,
guys?
everybody.
How many people are on her crew?
My guess is that what I witnessed is 3,
Okay,
all young women. Hannah and 2 other women.
all right.
And very often they're tasked with me, because we're not shooting every day, guns, there's no armaments every day. They dress me with my holster, my knife. The film is set in 1888, so I'm armed with the classic weaponry of the
He
cowboy
is
era.
explaining way too
And
much.
so they would make sure I was dressed properly. 80.
Well, you were
85%
dressed
of their
properly
task is
with
make sure I'm
the loaded
dressed
gun.
and everything properly.
The armors?
The
Or
armorers,
just,
the armorers, wardrobe doesn't necessarily, they sometimes trade back and forth, but wardrobe doesn't necessarily deal with my holster
okay,
and the knife, but that's a prop. The armorer, Hannah, and her team, they dealt with me being knifed and that being lashed properly, so it looks proper,
okay,
and the holster.
okay.
So it was
And,
wardrobe as much as it was props, as much as it was armaments.
okay. Do you know Hannah's last name?
No,
Do you know what she looks like? Or can you
yeah,
describe what she looks like?
multicolored hair, glasses,
Multicolored hair.
not too tall.
Sure.
Everyone knows her pretty well because her father is a very famous armaments guy. He's a guy that did guns and movies for decades. He's very well known.
Okay.
She's the daughter of this famous gun guy.
So why didn't
movie
you
gun guy.
And what
pay for
about the
the
other girls?
highly qualified dad if
You know,
he's
do you
still
look
alive?
like-
I don't know.
A blonde, thin, not too short, kind of medium height, and brunette, someone on the shorter side, maybe the same height as Hannah, brunette, and also there's you go back and forth between, they're wearing a mask most of the time on set. They've been ordered to do that. But I've seen them with their masks off.
Okay. All right. What time did you guys start today?
Okay.
I don't know what time they
Wait a
started.
minute.
I came in slightly later because they had a couple of shots without me in the morning, so I came in at, I guess I arrived there at like about 7:45.
Okay.
Normally I'm there at like 6:30.
All right. And then
Okay.
anything abnormal in the day? Who handed you your weapon in the day?
Hannah
Handed it. Okay.
Okay, the armorer handed him his
And
gun.
Physically handed or put it in the holster?
handed it to me.
Okay.
She would show me the gun.
Okay, there we go. They've just taken away a serious potential area of defense for him. If she just handed him the gun already in the holster, that's a little more. I mean, still, it doesn't make any sense to me personally, but it still at least gives him a little more wiggle room to say that, oh, hey, she just handed it to me. It was in the holster. I couldn't check it. I didn't check it, and I just started blasting. But here, he's just admitted, without his lawyer present, while being interrogated by the police after having his rights read to him, that anything he say can and will be used against him. He's just said, no, she handed me the gun. And of course, that word assumed again. So he's saying, no, it wasn't in the holster. And I haven't seen the holster, but a lot of times the holster will have like a little leather strap that hooks over the hammer. I don't know if this is just insane that he's saying, yeah, nope, she handed me the gun. I looked at it. I held it in my hand.
Okay.
Or she'd say, cold gun. She'd say, test it, or some language to indicate she handed me the gun, that it was fine. And she'd say, do you want to check?
Okay. She says it's this cold gun. And again, that's a term that I've never heard before. Cold, hot, I think. But oh God. Alec, just digging the hole, man. Just digging a hole. Because they're not even asking him these questions and he's volunteering. She asked me if I wanted to check it.
And I always didn't want to insult her. I said, because we never had a problem.
Yeah.
I said, I'm good.
Oh, for God's sake. And I've just ripped my headphone jack out. Let's put that back in. There goes another potential area of defense. He's now admitting that she handed him a weapon. She handed him a weapon that has the potential of killing someone. Handed him this weapon and said, "Would you like to check it?" And he said, "No, I'm good." Negligent in not taking the opportunity to check, which was offered to him by the armorer. Again, no, I'm just assuming you're doing this. You've asked me if I want to check it. No, I don't need to check it.
So, and the first AD very often will ask, periodically, he'll say, let me check.
Okay.
And they'll have two people check for this very reason that we don't have.
For this very reason,
Forget
you
about
are the
live
person that
rounds,
should
bullets.
check.
Do we have any flash rounds in the gun while we're rehearsing? Because if someone wants to indicate, and they're not thinking, they pull the trigger on the gun, they just hear the hammer, the dead.
Oh, I want to hear if he
hammer,
explains
and
why he
you
didn't
have
check it, other than, well, I thought she was doing her job.
Flash rounds at all in there for the rehearsal. The rehearsal gun should be empty.
Okay.
And as I said, for the 2 weeks I've been shooting.
It should have been empty, and you had to only take a quarter of a second and just glance like this at the side of the gun. And you could see that it wasn't unloaded.
Shooting, it has been empty. We haven't had one problem.
And have you physically checked that, or just by?
She announces to me that it's clean.
Okay.
She'll say, cold gun, we rehearse.
Did you check? She told me it was clean, so I didn't need to check, is the implied thing. Again, the police directly asked him, did you check it? Well, she told me it was clean.
Then when she's done, she takes the gun, goes off to a corner. She has a kit, like a zip fanny pack with her elements in there. She puts the flash rounds in there. She'll say, quarter load.
I wonder if that's an NRA approved fanny pack that you just carry around.
If I'm shooting
mixes of
you're
bullets
shooting me
in.
close.
That's kind of a bad
If I
thing.
say the full load, it is rather loud. It's very loud.
Okay.
She's always announcing what's going to happen.
All
And
right.
she's been very good about that.
So have you guys, backtracking a little bit on this, because she's telling you what's in these guns, have you guys been practicing with those quarter loads, the full loads, all that through the past couple of weeks? Or have you shot with them?
I came in on Tuesday. That's what I did Tuesday,
Okay.
the 12th. I came to the ranch, rode the horse. I just got used to that. And because they have a double wheelie ride and the distance up really fast. And all the athleticism you see me on the horse. And they cut to a watch and another guy riding was with a horse.
Okay.
I get quite a crew of them.
So today was not the first day that,
No, I shot on Tuesday the 12th with the Henry, the lever, arm action lever, the lever action rifle. The shuttle.
okay.
Those Henrys are pretty sweet old guns.
She was there.
All right, moving back forward. What time did you guys break for lunch
You mean to
today?
the repeater rifle,
Usually, I think today was probably 12:30.
Okay. And who took the weapon at that time?
Hannah
Physically took it?
always does. Rarely do the other ladies, the two other women, handle the pistol that's live shooting the scene. As I said, I have the Henry in my hand as a prop. I'd be running through the scene, but no bullets, nothing. When they say cut, I could hand it to the blonde girl.
Okay.
Again, but whenever we were interacting with somebody where rounds were going to go in the gun, you would have flash rounds in the scene. We shot flash rounds. It was only Hannah.
Okay.
Only. With her fanny pack with the rounds in there, her equipment.
Okay. Do you know what time you guys got back from lunch?
I guess it's 1:30 by the time we all get back to the setup. There's a base camp, and there's the set. So we go to the base camp for lunch, and they always just drive back, get their wardrobe touched up, get their hair touched up, and makeup, whatever it is, and then we're on set about an hour before we go back on the set.
Okay.
They had
And
an hour for lunch.
was Hannah the one to physically hand you the gun at
Yes.
that point? Okay.
Again, he admits to physical. Why
During
is
the
your
time
lawyer
that you
not
had
present?
it, was it ever handed off to anybody else?
No.
Okay.
She never gave it to anybody else that could have snuck around in there.
Did
Nope,
you
she gave it
see
to me. I didn't check it, and I was the only person that ever
Where
held it.
she got the gun from?
No.
Okay.
She has a station somewhere with all her stuff.
Okay.
He didn't see her get the gun, so he has no reason to believe that she was correct when she said it was.
Is anybody else allowed in that area?
I don't know, but I know that on this.
He doesn't know if anybody else was allowed in the area, so he doesn't know if someone else could have come and screwed around with the gun after she cleared it.
Hospital catering, and I'm gonna like a big plastic tray, a dark plastic tray, 2 levels and wheels. I think that's what she has, but many of the departments have that, and on that tray would be her, or something like that. I don't recall what exactly hers was, but they have a station that they bring to the set for her to put all of her stuff. And if the weather is cooperative, and sometimes they put it under a tent if it looks like it might rain and might even damage the property. But she has a little place she would go to, and I think she has a truck where she stores it. When they wrap, everything goes into a truck and she takes off with it. It's her responsibility to secure the prop weapons,
Everything in there.
which are real guns. They're real guns.
Can you actually describe the gun to me?
It's a Colt, a period Colt. In our emails back and forth when we were prepping the film, she showed me just a couple different styles of guns. This is not a big budget movie, so we didn't have a lot of choices. You know, she showed you 3 or 4 choices. I said, give me the biggest gun you've got.
Okay.
And
So he chose the weapon himself. The biggest one you've got. Nice. He chose the weapon.
And so I didn't, she showed me different guns by email and different knives by email, cruder knives that were made for like someone fashioned the handle out of like elkhorn or things like that. I took a traditional.
Why are you talking about the knife, Alec?
The handle. We went back and forth.
God, I wonder if his stress level must be really high.
We just had a relatively brief conversation. I'm having made a lot of movies. I know how not to stress them out about the budget. When she shows me something, I try to make that work. And so she showed me, I said, just give me the big Colt. We were done. And then on that Tuesday, the 12th, I came and shot that gun.
Okay. What color is it?
I believe it's a brown handle because she showed me 2 of the larger Colts. One had a cherry colored handle and one had a brown handle. And I chose the brown handle.
You didn't want the cherry.
I could show you my emails in my phone. I didn't want the cherry. It was
It's
too
kind of
shiny.
weird.
Okay.
My character is a little bit in the retirement side of his career. So he's a retired bank robber.
I see out in the Wild West cherry.
You need the gun to match.
Well, you always have people in films. I mean, they go to an extensive extent. You wouldn't believe some films if they have the budget, the details of all the things you wear: jewelry, hats, watches, guns, cars. I mean,
They are just letting him ramble. They're just waiting for him
you
to
could spend a whole week
hang himself with his own rope.
reading with the director. The writer goes and rewrites. They listen to how the dialogue sounds, and then once you're done rehearsing the text with the director, the producers, and the writer, when you're done reading, they'll go make amendments. So when they hear it come out of your mouth, they go, "Let's change that line." The way Bob says that, and then they go, and you go right to wardrobe, props. You go
Bullets.
do a lot of stuff.
Okay. All right, so you get back from lunch, get ready. She hands you the gun. Was this inside or outside?
We're inside the church set.
She didn't ask you where you were. She asked
And
if you were
was
inside
it
or outside.
the first rehearsal that the incident happened?
Yeah, I believe so, because we talked about, as we were going to lunch, we're always talking about what's next.
Okay.
So as we were rehearsing scenes, he said, now I want to do a scene where we've done other shots before lunch. He said, when we come back from lunch, we'll do this. And he said, wait, pull out, show me. Because I was showing you what I thought was the best angle to see the glint of the gun under my coat. Because you want the scene to work, the shot to work. So where the holster's here, the gun is here, my coat comes around, and I held my hand like it was like I was just cupping my hands. Like I was just resting.
Cupping.
And I showed him in the rehearsal. So when we came back after lunch, we rehearsed for the camera, and I took the gun. I'm showing him. I'm going to go like this, like this, like this. Cock and turn. Bang! It went off. The first time.
Okay, so it was your.
It was the very
after
first
lunch.
time that we were shooting that shot, that we were rehearsing for that shot,
Okay.
that camera shot.
And you may, if you don't know this, fine. Did you happen to see? So obviously you guys left from your upper shooting area to go have lunch, or did you eat lunch up there?
No, we always go back to the base camp for lunch.
Okay.
For the stage.
Did the armorers, or did you see the armorers go down?
Nor would I.
Okay.
Once they're gone, I'm gone.
Okay.
So,
Do people stay up on set, or does everybody go down?
well, there are many people who will forego lunch.
Okay.
I take that back, not many. There are some who will forego lunch because they have work to do.
Okay.
Some will hold them a plate, they'll bring their own lunch. Many people, they make sacrifices because of their pride for their department.
Mhm.
They make sacrifices for pride of their department. It sounds like he had a cheap set with some pretty shitty catering.
I think I need to distress those booths. They all have work to do. And very often, a small number of people will stay up top while we drive down from the set to the base camp. The caterer is there in need, but maybe a modest number of people stay up there.
Okay. All right. And
So
then
during
I
your
just want to
lunch,
clarify.
any number of
let me-
people could have messed with
I
the
know you're
guns.
drawing something. All right. So when you had pulled out the gun, obviously you were not at the cameraman, but you had identified there were 2 people there. Can you tell me who those people were?
My recollection is that the operator was there. He's a Steadicam operator.
Okay.
He's a man who, there's either a camera on sticks that's stationary, or there's a man who operates the Steadicam that moves. The camera operator was there behind the camera, and she was to his right.
And who is she? That's the one I'm asking.
Helena, the cinematographer,
Okay.
the camera director.
And she was right next to the cameraman.
She was to his right, to my left.
And who was behind her?
Joel,
And he is,
the director of the movie.
okay.
I hope the family makes so damn much money.
Can
from it.
you
It's just
recall who exactly was
inexcusably
identified at the time
No.
of the incident?
negligent behavior.
Or anyone else?
Dave Halls,
Okay.
the first AD, he's in charge of the crew. The first assistant director is the man who's like the foreman of the set. He's in charge of all the grips, all the crew.
Okay.
Electric, cable.
Do you know
all the
his name?
furniture. Dave Halls.
Okay, let's see. Got it.
Dave Halls is always there. Helena, Joel, me, the operator, an assistant camera person, the script supervisor.
So he's waving around a gun with a bunch of people standing in the general
In
vicinity
some strategic
without even
position
checking it.
to take notes on all the action of the take so you can match. If one day you're doing a scene, you sit there and go, what is your first name?
Samantha.
So they're like, Samantha, you know, it's really important that you and I get together and talk about that case. You drank, when did you, she makes notes, so we match every take. That's called continuity. That woman who's.
Okay, that was kind of a weird and a little bit creepy what he just did there. I mean, these 2 detectives are younger than him. And he just asked her what her name is and called her by her name. That's a good technique to build rapport, to bring people to your side, to familiarize yourself with them so that they have a more favorable opinion of you. He's a big famous actor calling this detective woman by her first name. He's trying to ingratiate himself to her big time.
Continuity. She's always there watching. She was in the room.
Okay.
She's an older woman, like in her 60s, maybe.
Oh, but it's also interesting to know she's going along with it. She has to know what he's doing. Because most policemen say, I'm Detective so-and-so, or I'm Officer so-and-so. Even if he does ask for her first name, because a first name is a very intimate thing. And they are probably going to use that attempt to make things on a first name basis, intimate basis. Let him think he's being removed from the criminal investigation that he is now participating in.
Looks like colored blonde hair, maybe, or brown hair. But I forget her name, but she is. So there's a group of people that are always there for every shot, even if you're in a kind of a cramped interior. This set of this church is not large, so then the rest of the crew's outside. In that side was a limited number of people, maybe 8, 9, I don't remember. But I know that every time we do a shot, those people are always on the set. Camera, assistant camera, cinematographer, director, first AD, script.
Okay. So not too many.
Very few.
Do you think that any part of this incident that occurred was intentional?
I can only say this, which is,
Good
in other words, to me, to place a bullet and position a bullet that is a live round, to make sure that that bullet is in the chamber, if I were to squeeze the trigger in a rehearsal, that bullet came out, someone has to have extraordinary access to that weaponry to do that.
So he didn't say he thinks it's intentional. He's saying it would have to have been someone with extraordinary access to the weapon, which is the armorer himself, and anyone else who just happened to be around the neighborhood when they were out to lunch, when they weren't paying attention, when they weren't doing anything, which is exactly why you must check that weapon yourself every single time you touch it.
I can't imagine somebody walked around with a round that was a 45 caliber round. So you see, other people on the set were speculating that it was a 45 caliber round, she'd be dead. It would have blown a big hole in her. And
okay, that's just not true. The exit wound has nothing to do with the caliber. I mean, we won't get into that now, but depending on the type of bullet you're shooting, I mean, if you're shooting some sort of fragmentation bullet or a hollow point, it's going to rip a big hole coming out. But if it's just a standard straight hunk of lead, it's not going to be noticeably bigger.
so we're wondering, was the projectile that went in her some foreign material stuck, and it was an accident?
You should have checked that to see if there was some foreign material in the barrel.
They always check. But
They.
But
It's not
from
you,
your
Alec, is it?
experience with these armorers.
I've never heard of anything like this in my life, ever.
Okay.
I've never heard of a projectile coming out of a prop gun that went through a person's body, regardless of it being a small woman.
He's not taking
The
any
bullet
responsibility
went in here, I'm
whatsoever
told,
for
went
this.
in here, came out here,
They
shoulder,
check, she
whatever,
checks,
went into
always
his body,
they,
I've never heard
not
that
him.
in my life. I don't know of any projectile with a gun and a flash prop gun that could accomplish that.
Well, it didn't.
Now,
It
if
was
somebody
obviously
put a live round in there accidentally, see, a very important question for Hannah is, have you ever commingled live rounds with theatrical
The
rounds?
question for Hannah, yes, that is a legitimate question for the armorer. You know, did she have mixed types of rounds in her little fanny pack she was apparently carrying? But again, it all goes back to him. And he's not willing to say, I should have checked or I did this. He's denying everything, which I guess is a good strategy, to deny everything and blame everybody else. But in blaming everybody else, he's explaining it's their fault because it's their job. They do this. I trust them. So he's actually kind of implicating himself by blaming others, saying it was their job, it was their job, it was their job. But as the dude holding the gun in the end, he seems to me anyway to be negligent in not just taking a brief glance to see if there's something in the gun. At least he should have done what I understand is to be the full practice of everybody checks it through the chain of custody until it gets into his hand. Other actors, from what I understand, open the cylinder, check each round individually to make sure it's safe, check the barrel to make sure it's clear, and go there. By saying it was their responsibility and it wasn't my responsibility, so I believed them and just went ahead with it, he's actually demonstrating his own negligence in this regard. He was negligent in relying on somebody else. He was negligent in not checking it himself. Perhaps as the producer, he was negligent in allowing someone that wasn't a experienced handler armorer to be handling the weapons.
In your kit, because they're forbidden to do that. According to, I think, the union rules and the safety rules for all the unions, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah,
because
blame her if they're
what
in the
happens
bus.
is commingle. So whether someone accidentally, and I can't even imagine this, deliberately placed a live round in that gun, I've never heard of that in my life. And I don't know anything about what happened, but all I know is see, the other thing about this is, in a live round, you'd have a recoil, usually. When I shot that gun and it went off, I didn't shoot it when it went off. I didn't intend for it for what happened to happen. When that happened
I didn't intend for it to happen. That's what negligence is. If you intended it for it to happen, that's intentional. Negligence is when something happens that you didn't mean to happen because you weren't careful.
I've always told about because I'm not a gun person, I don't have a gun.
I'm not a gun person, but I know a hell of a lot about him because I've worked with him, and I just diagrammed for you the different types of rounds that are used. I personally chose this weapon.
They've always told me, they asked me to simulate the recoil. When I shoot the Colt, which is a big gun, 45 caliber bullet, they always teach me when we should be go action. I go, get back here, boom, and they take my hand and go boom and have to kick because there's no kick in a flash round.
Okay.
And when this time, I don't recall there being any kick either. That's important.
Okay. Are you, I know you said you don't own a gun, but are you experienced with shooting guns?
Only as much as actors have to be experienced.
Okay. Which is normally not.
Really, I mean, like if you do a movie, safety with weapons is primary.
He's had as much training as actors should have when handling guns, which should be incredibly extensive. And he's just said that weapons safety is primary. It's paramount to have safety with the firearms. He's just said that. And then, as he said for the past 30 minutes of his questioning, gone on to explain that even though safety is paramount, he didn't really do anything to add to it. He just relied on somebody else and didn't take safety precautions himself.
You go off with people. You go off with armaments people to ranges. I've gone to ranges in Arizona where we shot a lot of guns in a movie many years ago, and you go to a range and you shoot for a few hours, and they teach you how to shoot shotguns, Walther.
Okay, on this point, one thing that's very interesting, do a YouTube search if you haven't seen it before, of Keanu Reeves training for John Wick. That is a pretty impressive thing. That is a pretty impressive thing to see. He dedicated himself to training and learning how to shoot, learning the proper way of handling a weapon, etc. That's a phenomenal video to watch. It seems to be pretty much the exact opposite of what Alec Baldwin did. I got a gun. I'm just gonna blam.
Different, little small guns, James Bond guns, big guns, Uzis, machine guns.
What the hell's that mean?
Whatever you're using, they make
Like a Walther?
and rehearse for hours, like a whole day.
So he rehearses for hours. He handles guns for hours.
As they have been
Intimately
here,
familiar
very
with.
safety conscious here throughout. That's what puzzles me.
Well,
We didn't have anything.
yeah, and I guess that's more like the question that I'm trying to get at is, do you think someone would deliberately do this?
I can't imagine who would.
Okay. Doesn't
But
seem
people
to be
have said, that 6 people got fired from the crew yesterday because they said that the union, I don't want to get into a long diatribe about this, but the union, the International Association of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE is their name. IATSE is the union that controls all the actors. The Directors Guild controls the director, the Screen Actors Guild, but all of the crew are controlled by a contract in which those people voted to go on strike against the major studios. The major networks, the major studios.
Well, if I remember
It's
correctly,
not
there
the
was
independent film
there was
community. In
complaints
fact, the IATSE rep
about
for the New Mexico contract, because everything is a
the
contract,
working
was
conditions.
instructed by his
There was
bosses in
safety
LA
concerns.
to don't go on
about
strike.
the movie that was being made.
The strike is against the major.
And a lot of
not against
people
the indie
left
film. And in the
because
indie
of
films,
that.
there's 6 different tiers, I believe, in terms of the contract, how much they're paid.
Okay.
A bunch of people on the set walked off anyway, even though they were told not to strike. They struck and they left.
And that was yesterday.
That
Yeah,
was
why
it.
did they
It was
strike? They obviously
Yeah,
had
the question
problems
becomes, I mean,
with
somebody
the
said,
safety and
was one of the-
other concerns.
I don't really know. I have
The working
no
conditions.
idea. I have no idea.
Well, and I was because that was mentioned to me is that it sounded like it was most of the camera crew that walked off set
Yes.
Yeah, why?
yesterday and quit, and maybe they got fired because they walked off.
You
So
can't fire me. I quit.
the other
You can't quit.
thing
I fired
is
you.
that the 2 major people, like you said, the director, those are the ones who got hurt. So with the camera crew and them quitting, and then your director getting injured, as well as Helena, you don't think there's anybody that had any anger towards them or anything that would
I
want to
don't know the
the film?
details.
Oh, well, the police are asking whether someone that was fired or quit may have wanted to get revenge and loaded up with live weapons. The bigger question I would have would be the 6 people or 7 people that were fired and left. Did that create a situation where people were overworked, unable to properly do their duties and cut corners as a result of these firings? Did it create like a situation where there was not enough people to make sure things were handled? And he, as the producer, continued with the movie knowing they were shorthanded, understaffed, overworked, and ill-prepared. That's a good question.
You know, the one guy, whose name I'm forgetting, he was a very heavy-set guy.
Fat guy.
He was and lovely to me. And he walked up to me and he said, "Thank you for the things you posted on social media in support of the IATSE strike." And he said, "I'd like to talk to you privately," because he said, "because I've got some of my guys sleeping in their car."
Mhm.
Many of the crew here, because they're shooting in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, or Albuquerque based, they live there. So the drive time, it's kind of common knowledge in the business that the unions in New Mexico signed very bad deals in order to attract movie shooting here. They wanted to grow the crew base here. So they signed the deal that wasn't a good deal, and that gave them a 60-mile commute radius. So that means if you live within 60 miles of the set, you come to work and you don't get paid any, you have to drive home and they don't hotel you. They don't know in New York it's 30 miles and they have to put you up in a hotel and give you gas money. There's a whole
So, Producer Baldwin, you couldn't just spring for a few extra bucks to put them up in a Motel 6 and write it off as a business
My guys are
expense?
sleeping in their car. I went to the AD and the producers and I asked him, "What's up with that?" He said, "They knew what the contract was. We signed the IATSE contract in New Mexico." And then in the middle of shooting, they decided they wanted to rewrite their deal. They said, "Put us up in hotels." Now, if you put the camera crew up in a hotel, all the other crafts are going to ask you to put them in a hotel. We don't have the budget for that. That could be $75,000, $80,000.
Oh, what's $75,000, $80,000 to you?
The one you said.
Especially when you're
I
a
forget
producer and it's a
But
movie
anybody there
expense.
can
You go
tell you what they
$75,000 over
was on the
budget. That's
crew, they quit
nothing
yesterday.
for him.
They didn't come to work today. But my point is that if I'm standing there in a rehearsal, I'm thinking to myself, could someone actually believe that in a rehearsal I would actually aim the gun and hit those 2 people? That's far-fetched. Or do they want somebody to get hit? Or, I keep telling myself, more likely, was it an accident? Whether it was a large
Accident.
quarter load makes noise, but it's like kind of a puff compared. But a half load could shoot a projectile if something was stuck in the barrel. And like I said, the thing that is, I think, going to answer all your questions is, what's in Joel's shoulder?
It's a
Is it a
bullet.
rock or is it a bullet?
I could actually show that to you.
They've got
What was in
They've got the
the
video.
Did they take it
There's
out?
a picture.
So you being on set for so many years, like you said,
You wonder what's
have
in his
you
shoulder?
ever seen?
Look at this.
You said you've never seen anything come out before.
I've
So
never
have
seen a projectile come out, no.
Right.
No.
So,
But do
So-
you know what the bullets look like then?
would it have looked something like this?
Like
if
a bullet?
anything did ever come
Would
out?
that bullet look something like a bullet?
Okay, no, okay.
So, okay, let's backtrack a little
Let
bit.
me say this to you.
Hold
That's a
I'm
bullet.
smiling at this.
That's a bullet.
Yeah, it is. It's a bullet.
So as
Right.
I suspected, somebody put a live round in the gun.
And somebody didn't check
If
to
that's
see if there was
bullet
a
that
fucking
was pulled out
live
of the
round
shoulder,
in the bullet.
And someone loaded a live round into
Yeah.
the gun I was
And
holding.
you pulled the trigger.
So now,
and check
let
it.
me ask you, did you see the rounds that were in the gun?
Yes. Why?
Have you seen, throughout the whole time on set, have you seen what they look like?
I've watched her load and reload the gun many times.
Have you seen the bullets themselves?
Well, meaning yes, meaning you see sometimes the head is the casing and the head is a pinched, it almost looks like a dumpling. It's closed at the top, there is no piece. And you put the cosmetic round in when you know you're gonna see. If I hold the gun, if I say to you, what is your first name again?
Alex?
Oh,
If I
there
say,
he goes with the
Alex,
first name
don't
thing
you
again.
little muscle dog, and I'm gonna blow you. Anyway, the camera shoots me. You want to see the material in the cylinder, the cosmetic
Don't move a
clay
muscle,
base,
darling. I'm gonna be shooting.
non-bullet round.
So can you describe to me what those clay-based rounds look like?
They look like a bullet.
What colors?
Yeah, this.
They're-
I don't know if
they're
this
great.
clay-based
Exactly like
thing
little
is talking about
brass
vaporizing
and
bullets.
a brass base. packed with something, I'm assuming, and then the heads look like a bullet. So cosmetically, you see that in the cylinder. The other rounds you shoot have it's the base with the pin.
Yeah, I know they have the
and it's a round like
rounds.
And if you look at the top,
That
if you're looking down at the
they're made of
not the
something
pin
that
down here, the
basically
top
disintegrates
it's
when it
folded
hits
in
like a target or
almost
something.
Yeah,
These are
it's
really
like
good
a-
metal target shooting, so it
Yeah,
just
like a
vaporizes
gun.
when it hits the
Like,
target.
exactly,
I've never heard of anything that vaporizes like inside the barrel of
Like
the
a
gun and
projectile.
nothing comes out.
If
That
I
just
showed you a
doesn't make any
couple
sense.
rounds, would you be able to tell me if they're the ones that look like they were on set?
Probably, if that.
Okay, he just spent time diagramming what the various types of bullets look like. Let me draw you the picture if you remember at the beginning. This is what this bullet looks like. This is what this round looks like. This is what this round looks like. Now she says, if I show you pictures of these rounds, can you identify him? Now suddenly he's an idiot I don't know, but possibly. So he's contradicting himself. At the beginning, he was an expert. Then when they're going to like, okay, can you identify these? Oh, now I don't know. Maybe.
I think I could probably tell you which were the rounds that were put in cosmetic.
Okay.
And which were the rounds that were the flash rounds.
All right.
Now, forgive me, because I'm very upset right now.
I know.
But you know what I'm saying, so please don't forgive my weirdness about this. That's what came out of Joel's shoulder.
Yes,
Joel.
yes.
Even-
And the reason why I was showing
Now this is interesting. She's leaving. I wonder if she's going to get the bullets, or if she's going to get pictures of the bullets, or if she's just using another tactic where it's sort of, I mean, it's usually the good cop, bad cop scenario where the bad cop leaves for a bit to give the good cop a little bit of time to say, hey, come on, let's work this out. Come on, we can do this. Meanwhile, bad cop is sort of observing through the, you can see on the side there, the one-way windows. He's being watched and recorded now. So maybe she's back there in that room looking to see what's going on. But this is a good cop thing. They're both being very conciliatory towards him, ingratiating themselves to him, being very kind. There's not a lot of the tough interrogation going on. There's a lot of good subtle techniques where they're just kind of pointing him in the general direction and letting him walk down the path and hang himself with his own rope.
it because you said you have experience, but you're saying when this does come out, it's supposed to just puff and not really be.
I don't know what
Usually,
they're talking
if
about.
there's any chance that when you look at the gun, so here's the barrel, here's the sight, and the cylinders around it has the holes.
Mm-hmm.
We're just looking at the gun, the camera's eye view.
Yeah.
When you look at the cosmetic rounds go in, they have no flash. But if you want to have cosmetic rounds that flash, if you want me to hold the gun, you see the bullets, and I shoot, that material is often a clay or fabricated material that just disintegrates. Turns to powder.
I honestly have
And
no idea.
And
what's
the
going on
rounds that
out
you
there.
put that you don't see, you're not seeing that in the barrel you're shooting. Those are the flash rounds, which have the top that looks like it's like folded kind of things like this, where it looks like it's packed and closed.
But specifically today was supposed to be either empty or the ones that don't even make anything.
Cold
sound.
rounds.
So cold round, the one with the hole in it.
Yes.
And it's not supposed to puff up or powder off, like you said. Nothing.
She doesn't know what he's
Told
talking
me
about either with
that
these
when he
powdery
checked the
bullets.
rounds with her, they
And
were
remember,
all
she's a
had the
police
hole.
officer who's trained in
And
weapons. She
some-
knows
sometimes
about
he told me
weapons
when I wasn't
and
familiar with this,
various
they'll
types
take
of
the
rounds. She
round, and if
knows
it's
this. She's
cold
playing
round,
dumb.
it'll have the holes, and inside will be BBs, and you shake it.
Yeah.
When you
we
shake the
listened to
BB,
that.
it's an acoustic thing to tell you that's a cold round.
Okay, and yeah, that's what.
Inside this base is stuff that rattles, little BBs that rattle. So you take your gun, that's a cold round that goes in the gun.
Okay, and that's what you were supposed to have today.
I was supposed to have an empty gun,
Empty.
or when we shot, for the rehearsal, empty.
Mhm.
And then when we shot, the flash rounds and everybody preps. And then she says, hot gun. She announces it, and the crew gets ready.
But that you didn't even get to that
I
part.
rehearsed with a hot gun. Now,
But you were supposed to be cold.
it was supposed to be cold or empty, but now, not only did I rehearse with a hot gun, I rehearsed with a gun that had a bullet inside.
Yes,
If that's what came out of your show, this is the most horrifying thing I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, that's not the most horrifying thing you've ever heard in your life. Personally, for your future freedom and financial stability, it might be a pretty damn terrifying thing. That bullet came out of his shoulder because you did not take the quarter of a second to glance in the general direction of the cylinder of that revolver to see if there was anything that vaguely, remotely resembled a live round. And I mean, it's like interesting. A fully loaded gun, especially like a good sized gun, like a 45 he's talking about, with live rounds, weighs substantially more than an empty one. This is just so pointless, so unnecessary.
Well, so yeah, and that's why I wanted to make sure that you, anytime that you shot a hot gun, you've never seen anything like this come out before.
Never.
Because I'm not familiar with prop guns. I
Never.
can tell you what a projectile looks like, and that does
Well,
look
let me
like
ask
a
you this.
projectile.
But see, that's a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so that's
You
what
are
comes out
correct,
of-
sir.
So I think the question, I mean, I don't want to tell you your job, but I'm so sickened by this, that a bullet passed through this girl's body. She's in
Yes.
critical condition in the hospital right now. And I
Oh,
fired
she's
the
still
gun.
alive.
And you don't think I feel really, really shitty about that? I do, but the question becomes, to ask Hannah, did you commingle live bullets? What they call live rounds?
Yes, that would
When
be-
they
that
say
would be
live round, that's a
negligent.
bullet that a police
That would be
officer.
very negligent on the armor.
Where did that come from?
part if
In her
she
kit?
mixed live dummy
Yeah,
and
she
She
flash and other
commingled live
rounds.
rounds with dummy rounds or.
But it's also very negligent
we
for
asked
you,
her.
sir, not to
We
have
asked her
checked
that.
the damn weapon that she
do you
put in
know
your
where
hand
you
and
guys
asked
get
you if you
the
wanted to check
rounds
it,
from? Who
and
orders it?
you
Or you
said,
don't have
no,
any
I'm
part of
good.
any of that?
For me?
Yeah, like,
That's her, yeah.
all familiar, okay.
All I know is when we come to the set, you hand me a cold gun, nothing's in reverse.
How do you know? You didn't look at it.
Shoot. That's it, every time.
How
We
do
never
you
had a
know
problem.
it was a cold gun? Every time, how did you know it was a
You
cold
didn't even
gun?
get part.
Did you check
that
it every
second
time
part of
except
it.
this
You had it.
time? Did you never check it? Dramatic pause.
I do want to ask you about Dave Holt.
Who's Dave Holt?
I understand sometimes she'll hand the gun off to Dave Holt and then he'll hand it to you. Did that happen at this incident?
I don't recall
Hannah-
There was no
it
middleman.
was
Took it
Hannah
directly
handing
from
it.
the armor.
I recall that when we would stop the scene, if we finished a scene, Halls is someone who is assumed by his position to be authorized to do nearly everything.
Mhm.
So if I was doing a scene with you and we finished the scene, we finished your angle and we were going to turn around and shoot my angle, when they say turning around, that means it's time to go to the bathroom, go get a bottle of water, go get a coffee, go smoke a cigarette. We have a break. And if I was going to go to the bathroom, I'd hand Halls the gun to give to her. I would only hand it to her, or if she wasn't around, if she was away, because she'd be
Here
at the
comes the
shop,
other Officer Goody with the
and Halls the gun to give it to her.
Chuck
Give it
Norris
to
martial arts movie action jeans.
So sometimes you would hand the gun to Holt, but
Tight
you
jeans
never,
there, lady.
He never handed the gun to you.
No,
Okay.
no, never.
So you would hand it to him.
I'd
with
pass
the
it off to him if she was not on site and I was going to run to use the bathroom, I was going to, but that's very typical. Halls is empowered and authorized to hand him the weapon. He's the only other person to hand the weapon after we were done. Whether it was a cold gun with no things or flash rounds, I'd say hot gun, hand it to him. Well, usually not. Because usually it was a hot gun. If it was a hot gun we were going to shoot, she'd be right nearby.
Okay.
If I hit, because other times we have rubber guns, fake guns. Yeah.
And specifically, right before this incident, Hannah handed you the gun and said cold. It wasn't Dave.
I don't recall, no, Hannah handed me the gun.
Okay. It wasn't anybody else but Hannah.
No, Hannah handed me the gun.
And she specifically said.
I believe she said cold, I don't recall it.
Where?
Okay, that well. See now that they're trying to
So this is
put her up to the for the armorer. They're trying to show that she said it was a cold gun. He's been saying this whole time, oh, she said it was a cold gun. She said it was a cold gun. She said it was a cold gun. And now he just said, I think she said it was a cold gun. Now is he saying that he's not even sure it was a cold gun?
I'm not that great of a drawer, but this is the church. This is the front where the
This is the church. This
The-
is the
Enter
front.
here.
Open the door,
front,
and here's
front
all
is.
Never mind.
Where did she hand the gun to you? Inside while you
Oh,
were
yes, because I was
off?
seated.
You were.
In other words, I was,
Yeah, let me draw you another diagram to be
This is the
used as
scene in the
evidence
church.
against me.
when you come in, and there's a lot of disarray. There's benches tipped over, and and here was one bench that was upright and sturdy. Some of the other benches are prop benches.
Just
so they
like
can
you,
smash
Alec.
easily with
Upright and a
posts.
sturdy gentleman.
You want the gunfire to have fake benches. They're made of a lighter wood, so they put charges inside. So when you shoot, cinematically, when a guy's shooting a gun and you turn around and see what he's shooting at, you're going to see charges that are buried inside.
Yeah, little squibs that are
The
buried
material,
inside.
you're going to see boom, 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 these flash. That is a prop.
Why did you see a
bench.
flash from
There
a
were
bench?
prop benches around that they were eventually going to put, today, we're going to put squibs in to have them blow up. And this was a real bench, a heavy, because if you sat on the prop bench, it would break.
Mhm.
This was a live bench, and I sat here, and the camera was here, and she was here, and Joel was here.
She being Helena.
Helena,
Okay, and
I'm here on the bench, sitting. I'm right here to the right. I'm all the way to one side. They wanted me to go all the way to that side. And the camera guy was here. He's behind. Hannah was here. Joel was here. Where the other people, I believe that the script room was always in that corner so she could see the actual. And when I shot the gun away from the cameraman, I never aimed against the camera. I turned and I went like this to aim the camera, and she was there, and the gun went off, and she just went right on the ground.
What about the armorer though, or was she?
She's outside.
Okay, this is a total digression, and this is what happens with my ADHD. They're talking about the squibs. There's a case, a very famous case that literally everybody learns about in tort classes in law school. It's the famous squib case. It's the case of Scott v. Shepard, and it's an old case from the mid to late 1700s, if I remember. God, 7 years ago. The defendant in the case threw a little squib, threw a little firecracker into a busy marketplace, and there's people hanging around and standing around. And it landed near somebody, and it explodes, and it injures their face, and so it blows up and injures their face, and they charge the guy with assault, and he was found liable for the assault, and he appealed the decision, and his arguments were that he didn't cause the injury. The squib itself, the firecracker, the firework did not cause his injury. That was the idea, was whether him throwing the squib and all the events that led to the people panicking and stuff, and him getting hurt, was this guy's negligence. And that was the outcome. They found the injury to the person was a direct negligent act from the guy who threw the firework into the crowd. What happened was they threw the squib and landed in front of somebody. He picked it up and threw it, and then it exploded near the guy's face. That's what it was. The court found that he was liable in tort because he threw the squib, and the guy picked it up as a defense, threw it to protect himself, and then injured the other person. And so this was the guy, the original thrower was the guy that threw the squib. And that was completely unnecessary. But anyone who's ever gone to law school knows the famous squib case of Scott v. Shepard. Now back to our other squib in the church benches, guy who hopefully will soon be a defendant, Alec Baldwin. let's go, Alec, and see what other statements you're going to make, again, without the presence of your lawyer.
She hands
She
you
comes
the gun,
in, she hands me the gun all the time.
and then what?
If there's any shooting involved in the scene, she always hands me the gun.
Never has Dave handed you the gun?
Never.
And then she goes back outside?
She waits outside because she just can't be there, so they didn't want to see. Sometimes in scenes, there's reflections, like, you see. So you only need the necessary crew in there for shooting the camera. Everybody else leaves, and as soon as they say cut, they come running back in.
Okay. Real quick before she shows you that, the other thing I wanted to know, and it's probably helping she does show you those rounds. Have you, in your experience, ever been told that you're not supposed to cock the gun?
No.
No, you're okay.
He wanted me to cock the
You're
gun
not
in the
supposed
scene.
to cock the
Okay.
gun.
He wanted that as part of the scene. He said, I'm going to take the gun out, turn, and cock it into to the right, my left, to their right of the lens. In other words, if I'm sitting here and you're the camera, we don't talk about my left, we talk about camera right. Camera right, we only talk about the camera. Camera right is my left. So if I'll say to you, where do you want me to aim the gun? They'll
Yes,
say, camera right.
stage left, stage right. It's
Okay.
not the audience.
So I
left.
always aim the gun away, but she was there.
Yeah, so you didn't
And
aim it
the rehearsal
away.
going to
You
pull
aimed
out
it away
the
from the
gun
camera,
and
not
cock it.
away from the
As soon as
people
have a
you
cold gun,
fuckwit.
there's no problem.
Right.
And again, a cold gun I'd had, every time we've used guns in this film the last 2 weeks, we never had one problem. Never.
That's why it's an accident.
And I don't, maybe we need to discuss this when I was going, after the gun was shot, who did you hand the gun to?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. I mean, everybody freaked out.
I think so. Okay.
It was one of those two people, Halls. I don't really know. I would imagine, well, there's the dummy there. So that's probably a dummy round. And there's no drill in this. That might be a flash round. As I said,
So
There
flash rounds do not have holes.
There he is, showing his
Well,
expertise that he
flash
knows
round
what
has
these
a
various
charge
rounds
in
look
here.
like.
Okay.
Powder, different
And
sizes.
they're just going to be able to
Or
look back and go, okay,
and a
you know
wire
what
in
these
there
look
to
like.
pack
You
it-
have
pack it
experience with
inside.
them. You're an
Okay.
expert.
So when you hit this
Did you
pin,
look and
it's
check?
forward.
No.
Now, sometimes it has this material there, if you have to have the cosmetic feature to the
Just
gun,
taken
it shoots.
a quarter of a
But
second.
often
to
it
load.
has, there's the
You wouldn't
BB.
be sitting in this chair.
This is a dummy round. No dummy here, but there's that. My point is that very often when you give me, when she's loaded the gun with rounds for us to go hot and flash and shoot, they've had that creased folded head, the dumpling
And you
head.
didn't check to see if it had that
They've
creased
almost never
folded
been
head.
like this for the flash. Only when the camera sees inside the cylinder do you put those in.
But those are both dummy rounds.
That's a dummy
Here.
round. And that's a dummy round. That's what they taught me.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert.
What do you mean you're not an expert? You've just spent the last 50 minutes explaining your expertise in this field. You've drawn diagrams of the various kinds of bullets. You've explained how they discharge. You've explained what happens after they discharge. You've just been acting as an expert for the last 50 minutes. Now you're suddenly, oh, I don't know anything about this. I'm not an expert. I don't know. A little bit contradictory there, Mr. Alec.
You have more experience with dummy rounds than we do.
I doubt that. I'm sure I was saying to my wife, I think I should get a gun. I get a little nervous about the word.
Yeah, don't get a gun, Alec.
I got 6 kids. I'm 63 years old, and I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and an 8-month-old.
Oh, there's another case in law school. It's a property
63
case
years old, and we had.
about
That's
inheritance.
6 kids in
The
7
case
years.
of the fertile
So my wife
octogenarian.
is always,
It's
she
a
was born
hypothetical
in the US,
case.
but raised in
We
Spain.
won't
She's
get
like,
into it.
I like we will not be having any guns in the
It's
house.
about old people can have kids and the rule against perpetuities. And all those
Okay,
I believe that's a 2
Horrific law school shit.
so you call this a flash round, right?
Flash round means there's a charge in there. No charge in there, if you hear that sound.
Okay.
No charge in there if you see that.
So what happens?
I'm not an expert, but let me share my expertise with you while I identify these rounds and explain how to tell them apart.
With nothing in them, so that through the cylinder you can see that.
Sounds pretty
Okay.
expert to me. I
You
couldn't.
can see in the cylinder whether the cylinder is empty,
Or,
they look bad, continuity-wise, or that there's a round in there. So they put a cosmetic round in the chamber.
Yeah,
They
you could
load
have
the
shared.
gun, close it, and then I hold the gun. You see the things in there. A flash round
And you didn't see, did you?
would be
You
like
didn't check.
what crimped is the word, a
Yeah.
crimped round with a charge inside. And that one shoots, and there's no projectile. I'm really challenged whether they ever see, I doubt, sometimes they have these where you can do both,
This
but
is
that's
so
the
bad for
clay material. But usually, 99% of the time, when we shot a flash round, it was the crimped thing, and you don't see inside the cylinder. So
Okay.
you're the camera, and I'm not pointing where you can see it, I'm off a little bit, and all you see is the flash.
Yeah,
Do you
you're
know
off a little
what
bit,
would
pointing
happen
at the
Shot one
cinematographer.
of these? Have you ever had experience with that?
Nothing,
Nothing happens with them?
there's no charge in them. This
Did you see
indicates
the bottoms?
Again, they're
But sometimes
demonstrating
they
his
have
expertise.
to
He's agreeing with their
to
expertise.
create something.
he's
I'm
claiming
saying,
he's
when
an
I look
expert.
at this, when I go like this, now, by the way, there could be a charge in there. And that charge and those BBs could come out. I don't know, I don't know enough about it to know whether this rattling indicates that it's an empty, a cold round. That's obviously a cold round, because that's where the gunpowder would be in here.
Mhm.
That's a cold round.
Sounds like you're an
This
expert
is
to
a
me,
cylinder
Alec.
round, because they go like this to tell themselves it's a cold round. I believe, please don't take my word for it, I'm
Just in your experience.
a father of 6 children, pretty much, that's all I do these days. My experience is those are both.
That's all I do these days is produce children.
And I was told by Halls that when they took the gun away and looked at every round inside the gun was a cold round, except the one round was not only a hot round, it was a live round, it was a bullet.
Yeah, well, shit, you should have
If
checked.
you're
on
telling me that that's what came out of his shoulder, there's something really, really scary going on.
that. And the scary
Well, I
thing
think
is
that's
you
what
did
I'm
not
saying.
check,
If
Alec. You
any
didn't
time-
check the weapon. That's
So
the
I said these are
scary
cold
thing.
ones, but the ones that are not cold, the quarter,
Right.
those,
They have the crimped head.
have you ever seen anything like that ever come out on set?
No, it's not possible.
Not possible,
It's
okay.
not possible.
Yeah, they don't have a head.
I'm saying
Never
They-
say
they don't have a-
impossible,
there's
but
no
I mean,
projectile.
There's no
impossible,
projectile,
but
okay. So then,
Never say
and
never.
you shouldn't,
Somebody put a live bullet in the gun.
Yes, sir. And you didn't check. That's what I keep going back to. He
separate
did not
and do that
check.
either.
No.
That's
Separate, no, probably.
Like
The
that
negligence.
shouldn't come out either when, if it does.
If you did a flash round, that wouldn't be there.
Okay.
This is a cosmetic round only.
Right,
I point the gun, that's in the cylinder. When we shoot the gun, 99% of the time, it's a flash round that you don't see the cylinder. You're the camera, and I'm slightly off, so you don't see the
I'm sorry, we keep having you explain that, but it's just because there's different rounds.
I'm saying this is a cosmetic round, to my knowledge.
Mhm.
And if there is, another question for you is there a cosmetic round? I mean, is there a flash round that has the head, which I believe they have, where you could shoot into the gun? Meaning, if the director wants you to aim the gun at the camera, they put a lucite screen up there, and I shoot the gun at you, you can see the bullets inside there, or they can go to do that with a computer.
Mhm.
But if I put the thing toward you and then shoot, they'll have a round that has this on it that'll explode. But again, I've been told that is a clay material or something that just dissolves.
I don't know what this.
No projectile comes out. On a flash round,
I don't know what he's talking about there.
on a flash round, it blows up, that you shoot on camera, quarter, half, full. There is no projectile unless some material is stuck in the barrel of the gun.
Or you just load it with a light
And I
round.
thought for sure what happened was, did they not check there was a stone or whatever?
They did
Now,
not
again,
check. Wow.
I am speechless. We're here shooting, everything was going fine. So
They
was
did
my
not
friend.
check.
I'm one of
You
the
did not
producers on
check
this
either.
movie.
They
We've
did
been
not check.
together
I
for
did
3
not check.
years.
That's
I left my
negligent.
wife and
I
6
don't
kids
know
in
what
New York
the
to come here for a month to
particular
shoot this
jurisdiction
movie.
has
And I'm the
negligent
one that shot the
homicide
gun
or
today, and a
involuntary
live
manslaughter
bullet go
charges.
through that woman's body and into his
This
body.
is it. Somebody died. You didn't mean it to
And I need to
happen.
know,
You
how did that
acted
happen?
negligently.
Where did
There you
that
go.
bullet come from? Where did there
Doesn't
are no
matter where-
live
well, I
rounds
guess
in
it
our
doesn't matter where it
code.
came from.
Everybody was sitting
Person
around
who
waiting
made
for
it
you to come here
happen.
with all the
But
sheriffs
for
and all
you,
the
it doesn't
people, the
matter.
people that
What
were
matters
there,
is you
waiting
did
for us
not
to get
check.
ready to come and do this with you. And all they did was talk about that. But it's speculation of like, in her kit, she doesn't have live rounds.
And that's what we were told, that's what when we asked her, she said, there's no live rounds, not even in her kit, not on set, anywhere. So
For that very reason.
we want to know the same question too. Yeah, how, if there's not supposed to be any live rounds on set,
then it comes down
How
to
and who,
possible manufacturer defect.
or that.
That a cosmetic round shot this projectile through them? Is
That's
that
the
possible?
old,
Did you
well,
find that?
how
I
did
don't
it
know.
happen then? If everything you say is
It's
true,
possible.
then how
But
did it happen?
They told you that mechanically, if that's possible.
Yes.
I've
So
heard.
sometimes there is a
And
charge.
no matter
in the
what he
other.
explains, he's
Not-
going to explain something out of the ordinary,
A mistake.
which is going to point towards negligence.
Today I sit here, and whether it was a misfiring theatrical round or a libel, I shot this woman with a
No, Alec!
it feels so good, you know.
Whether it was this or that, you didn't know if it was, and yet you just said, I shot the
I
woman.
feel really
Oh,
bad.
God.
You know, it's like I mean, everything was going great. The only problem we had was when these 6 guys wanted to quit.
This is why
And
you need a
there, I don't know
lawyer.
the jargon, but there,
Why is he doing this without a lawyer?
union rep or whatever in the New Mexico contract, different contracts in different states. The person that was in charge of these people had a kind of a pipeline, a lot of shooting going on, a lot of movie or TV work in Albuquerque, Santa Fe. Their head person was told them, don't strike. It's not again, we don't want to cripple the indie business and put all of our employees out of work. Our indie contract is set for now. You have a contract you're under, now we can renegotiate that contract, which no doubt they will. But in the meantime, you have a contract that you agreed to, and those men came, I'm not criticizing them, they came under a contract which they knew what it was. They reported to work, and then halfway through the shooting, they left, they walked off. And I don't, when he said to me, well, my guys are sleeping in my car, the ADs and the producers said to me, well, they're all of a sudden complaining about a contract they've been working on it for quite a while. And some days we wrap, and they shoot nights. Those are tough. The men, the women, they have to go back to their homes, and they have to Albuquerque and drive an hour. It's 3 o'clock in the morning,
Mhm.
And we try to put the night shooting on the weekend, so when you wake up the following day, you're off. And then and then some days we wrap the day before they walked up the job, we wrapped at 5:45 in the afternoon. It's a very reasonable day. And a very easy day, 6 o'clock. As I'm driving away with them, and I waved to that guy. The guy said, I want to talk to you, the heavyset guy.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving. I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I left, because I want to get home.
Right.
I want to go call my
Oh,
kids
he
before they go
blows
to bed
off
in
the
New
set,
York.
people. What a
And
charmer.
Yesterday, when I was driving, when I saw him, the sun was still out. We didn't shoot a day like usually we shoot till we lose the light.
Mhm.
That's why we're here, to shoot New Mexico.
Yeah.
New Mexico is the star of
The
the movie.
scenery.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you, in your opinion, feel that this could have been an accident? Or do you,
I want to believe that, let me ask you this, because I don't know anything about this, because it was such mayhem when this happened.
Mhm.
Everybody was sick that this happened, because we didn't know, no one imagined, everyone thought she was hit by wadding, or she got burned. No
She
one
got hit
presumed
by
she
a
was
wadding
shot with
and
a bullet,
burned,
any
and she just
projectile went through
dropped
the
and
body.
hit the deck and was
No one
bleeding
even
out all
considered
over.
that wasn't possible. So the question is, the cartridge that came out, the cartridge is when the gun that they fired, have you got that?
So we have to send that, we don't analyze that stuff, we collect it, but then we send it to
Well,
lab.
it was
to analyze.
collected. You
It
have,
will be.
right, that's all I'm saying, is that to me, I'm wondering, what was that? What was in that? They're measuring, I don't know anything about that,
Cartridge?
what are they, what ballistics, how can they measure, what was in that?
Mhm.
How much of it?
Oh, okay, well, how much
And
of a
that's-
load was it?
That'll all be.
I don't think it
done
really
to lab.
matters.
I don't know.
She's
All
dead.
I knew was the gun went off, she hit the floor, he hit the floor, he started screaming. He was in a lot of pain. She went into shock. She didn't talk.
Right.
Her eyes are rolling back in her head, and blah, blah, blah. And
Blah, blah, blah.
everybody's just
She
getting
hits
ready,
the
and then they start
ground.
doing CPR, and everybody gets really panicky.
Oh, don't do
And people start
CPR.
wondering, what, did something, we assumed,
Don't do
because the
CPR on
wadding
someone
can
who's
burn
been
you, the
shot.
material that can
You
come
can
out,
all
and
help it.
that's very rare.
Don't pump
It
the
could burn
heart
you.
harder.
But remember, that often
Don't
doesn't happen
push
because
the
there's always a
blood
cold
out
gun on the rehearsal.
faster.
Hmm.
By the time you leave, if the wadding comes out and it hits somebody, they're 20 feet away from you in a gunfight, the crew is away. You're not shooting anybody near the crew. And my point is that when she went down, but what was stuck, we all said the same thing, what was stuck in the barrel? Was something left, they didn't
A
clean the
piece of
barrel.
lead, Alec?
They always do, always.
A piece of
There
lead
were
was in
little
the
rocks
barrel?
that went through her body. I didn't know about the passing through her body. I know she was hit. I didn't know where, and I don't know to what extent. But we all presumed as we're sitting outside bullshitting for the last 2 hours while this went on, the aftermath, we assumed something was lodged in the barrel, was a projectile that went into her body. Now, when you tell me that's what came out of Joel's shoulder, that's a faulty round, which I've never heard of that before.
No, it's not a faulty round.
Never.
It sounds like it worked pretty damn
I've never
well to
heard
me.
Of a theatrical flash round
It's not
It
a
was
faulty
loaded
round,
into the
Alec.
gun.
It worked perfectly.
that had a projectile that misfired, and that projectile came out that was a lethal round. Normally, if you're going to have a round that has this on it, it's the material that disintegrates when you fire the gun. Because if you take a flash round with gunpowder in it, whether it's a quarter, half, or full load, and you put a real bullet on, that's called a bullet. That's not a movie bullet.
It's called
That's a bullet.
Yeah.
That's
How
just
did that
like the
happen?
one they pulled out of his shoulder.
I mean, I'm the person that fired.
You're
the
not
gun.
dying
I'm
for
dying
anything.
to find
She's
out
dead.
How that happened. How did that bullet that caused it end up in her kit?
And again, we're not gonna know if it was manufacturer issues or someone did bring a live round until it's been tested and we look at the whole casing and projectile of it. So is there anybody on set that you would think want to cause a disturbance in the filming or have any issues with anybody on set, minus what happened, if you don't think?
No, in the movie business, there are always some whiny people,
Okay.
but not so much so that they want to shoot somebody.
Okay.
So nothing.
I've never heard of anything like this in my lifetime.
At least he's not saying.
I've made
it's
75
intentional.
movies.
So in the past couple of weeks that you've been on set, there's nobody really,
There is no one I would imagine would be capable of doing something like this.
nothing that out of the ordinary.
So at least
But
he's
again,
saying
I think
it's
it's
an
a critical point to me, which is, if this is a flash round, if there's a flash round, and you have a piece here, this piece has to be a certain type, in other words, if you want, as I've told you before, if you want the shot to go off, and see that the cylinder cosmetically has a round in there, this is not the thing that was in Joel's shoulder.
But and then I want to come back to this. You said that when the gun went off, you experienced no kick.
Yeah, there was no recoil. There was no recoil, but that I remember. I mean, literally, I'm holding the
You
gun.
probably were fucking freaked out that that thing went off.
Slowly pulled, turned, cocked.
You're
As soon as
a
I
man
cocked it, bang!
freaked out.
And I jumped, I mean.
Yeah, see, you
obviously-
jumped. See, he
That's
said,
the
oh,
last
he didn't see
thing.
the recoil because that recoil was part of him
Everything has been
freaking
done,
out. This
every
thing
breath
went-
we take is to obviate that possibility. And the gun went off, and, all I can think of, as I keep saying, is that I've never heard of a flash round that had a bullet on top,
Well,
that had a projectile
it happened that way.
similar to what came out of Joel's shoulder. I've never heard of that in my life, ever. Never. Flash rounds normally have the crimping. If there's a head on there, it's made of a special material. And in this scene, you would look down the barrel of the gun and shoot. You have to ask them that, by the way. You have to ask, well, both of them were in the hospital now. But was it their intention? Because when I was given the gun, I'm assuming it's a cold gun with nothing in it. When it goes to time to shoot, are they going to see in the barrel that there's a gun there? Very often what they'll do is they'll have you put the cosmetic round in. I'll draw the gun up, I'll aim it, they cut. And cinematically, they'll cut to the other guy going like this. Then they'll cut back to me with the flash round with no projectile.
Well, that's the
What I'm
case
saying to you
then.
is a
Why?
theatrical round,
Did you
a
pull the
flash
hammer
round
back?
with a bullet head. I've never heard of that in my life, ever. Never. But that's a bullet. Less of a charge, but that's a bullet. I don't know what to say. I've never heard of this in my life.
What's your date of birth, Alex?
April 3rd, 1958.
Do we have, is there someone that we can contact if we have other questions for you?
His name is Jonah,
Jonah,
Jonah.
Who's Jonah?
His last name is Foxman. They told me that you wanted this correct.
uh,
Is that his lawyer's business card? Dude should have been on the phone to his lawyer before he got in that room.
Jonah, Foxman, Foxman.
Oh, I guess they're deleting his personal details, the phone number.
Is any other? We have one more here. Okay.
What am I going to do?
You can go wherever.
Well, let me ask you this. Originally, and this is a very complicated, I mean, modest compared to what happened to them, but my wife and my whole family was scheduled. And on Saturday, my daughter was going to be in the movie. They had a little part for my daughter. The 8-year-old.
Oh,
She was so excited to go. And now the question is, Joel's not going to go back to work for a while.
Right.
I doubt he'll be back to work in a week or two. At that, who knows what they're going to do? They're going to
Joel's not going to be back to work for a while. Yeah, the cinematographer is never going back to work because of what you did, you freaking scumbag. She's never going back to work.
get the shit suit out of them.
They'll get the shit suit out of
I
them.
think his was the shoulder.
You're going to get the shit suit
He
out
might,
of you.
I don't know.
Which I understand. The
It's
lawsuit
up
was
to
filed
him
a couple
how he
months ago.
feels and stuff on
But I'm sure that there are so many insurance issues for them. They
There's
should
gonna
have them. They're in a lot
probably
of
a
trouble.
halt
They're in a lot
on
of trouble. Insurance wise.
I hope you're insured, Alec, because
Civil
you're
action
going to
wise.
need
What
it.
I'm saying is this, I told them I would stay here tomorrow. My family's not gonna come now.
Mhm.
I begged them to come in. My wife wants to cancel the trip. She thinks it's just a weird energy. I told the producers that I would stay tomorrow in case anybody else, their insurance investigators, anybody, their lawyers wanted to talk to me. I'll make myself. And then Saturday, I was gonna fly home to New York. I just wait for them to tell me what to do. Did you need me to stay here beyond Saturday? I will do whatever you tell me to do.
Okay, so I think, what we need to do.
Oh, I didn't even notice she left.
We're going to go
She
and
came back from
process the
somewhere.
scene. If there's any that comes up, and that we need to contact you, you said you'll be here till Saturday? Or you
As
want
of
to
now,
fly?
no, as of now, I'm gonna stay tomorrow to make
Mhm.
myself available to the insurance investigators and their the production's attorneys.
Yeah.
To make myself available, they've told me they're not sure they need to talk to me. I'm gonna stay tomorrow and get on a plane Saturday to go home, and God knows when we're gonna come back, it might be months.
Okay.
To go home,
I-
pack my jet, my
as long as
bags,
we
and move
have
my family to a
book
country that
number,
has no
he's not
extradition
going to
treaty with the
change it.
U.S.
No, what I'm trying to say is that I'm gonna leave
You're
on
okay.
Saturday unless you tell me not to.
You're okay.
If you tell me to come back in, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. But my wife wanted me to come home.
Yeah, so as long as we have a way of contacting you
So,
is what we need to do to get a hold of you, okay? But I think unless tomorrow you hear something different from us, because right now we're going to go, we'll interview a
talk to
couple
you again
more
tomorrow, I'll
people.
come here right away.
Okay,
Tell me what you want.
What's your work cell
Juan,
or your office? Sorry.
that one I, don't know, I don't use it.
Okay, well,
So 2850, 2850 is his work cell.
So the two of you are not best friends and you go bowling together and go to movies together now?
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you joking about?
So this is my card. I put her name
That
on the
was
back
really
of that one,
inappropriate.
but my, office is
How do you
that
prefer to be
first one.
contacted? Office?
Oh, let me put because mine's a different,
What size?
yeah, I don't, my desk phone has issues, so I use my work cell phone all the time. And that's usually the best way to get a hold of me.
Looks like they're winding down here now.
And then if I'm not at my desk,
Use
either.
details.
If I don't
Make
hear
it
from
think
you
he's
otherwise,
under
I mean, I'll come in
suspicion.
tomorrow if you prefer, but if I don't hear from you otherwise, as of now, I intend to go home on Saturday.
So yeah, and that's fine, because right now, we still have other interviews to do, we gotta go to the scene, process it. The processing at the lab might take longer, so you might even not hear from, if
There's
you
2
do.
years backlogged right now.
So, our
Would you want to talk to
investigations
me
go long.
remotely?
If it comes to
Just
it,
tell me
we
what
will
to do.
figure it out at that point, but right
As of now, my
now,
wife wants me to come home.
as of right now, you better listen to your wife and go home.
Okay, are we ready for, I do have some very unfortunate news to tell you.
What?
She didn't make it.
No.
Wow. Wow. He just found out right now in the middle of this interview that she died. That is the look of a man who just is now processing that he killed someone. She's dead because of him. That reaction speaks volumes.
Oh, Joel's still at the hospital, but the
Wow.
other person involved didn't make it.
He's speechless. He's shocked.
Sorry.
That
I just didn't want you to hear it.
is the body position and body language of someone who knows he's fucked.
Is there something we could do for you?
That's pretty heavy, actually. Wow.
Would you want Jonah in here with you? What do you want to do? Do you want to make a call? You can sit.
This better not be his lawyer showing up.
You should go.
Are you guys needing a ride? Or are you comfortable? I think they've got their baby.
Now we're looking
Are
at
you
homicide.
comfortable
We
driving?
knew that already, but he didn't know that.
I want to go my way.
At that
What
time,
could you
now
do
he
to
realizes
No, we're gonna go.
Okay.
homicide's coming.
Can I get you more water or anything?
Joel, give you guys a few minutes in here.
I want to go call my wife.
Yeah, now he's going to call his lawyer. Wow. That was pretty intense. Man. Oh, that was painful to watch. I mean, just for me as someone who was born and raised around guns and familiar with guns, I just can't wrap my head around the fact he took someone's word for it that this was a perfectly okay gun when he couldn't account for the whereabouts, the handling, the loading of the gun from the beginning to the end. He has no idea whether or not people are doing their job. And as the actor who has the weapon in his hand, as the producer of the movie, he should be checking to make sure what the situation is. All he had to do was just glance briefly at the side of the gun and see into the barrel, into the chambers at an angle to see if there were any rounds in the cylinder. That's insane. And now he might be really well unscrewed. The New Mexico statutes on manslaughter, because I would guess this would be an involuntary manslaughter case if it goes to trial. Manslaughter under the New Mexico statutes, and I'm not a New Mexico lawyer, so this is just me reading from the internet. Manslaughter is the unlawful killing of a human being without malice. Without anger, the malice, without the intent. Manslaughter is just the unlawful killing of someone. And there's very few circumstances where it's legal to kill somebody. And involuntary manslaughter under the statute consists of manslaughter committed in the commission of an unlawful act, not amounting to a felony, or in the commission of a lawful act. And I would assume that acting and holding a prop gun, holding a gun and doing his job as an actor is a lawful act. So involuntary manslaughter consists of manslaughter committed in the commission of a lawful act which might produce death in an unlawful manner, shooting, or without due caution and circumspection. Without due caution. So involuntary manslaughter consists of manslaughter committed during the commission of a lawful act without due caution or circumspection. In other words, without duly checking to see if the gun that he was going to be pointing at other human beings was loaded or not. If they decide to prosecute this, I don't think it looks really good for Alec Baldwin. I mean, whether or not the criminal side goes to trial civilly, which is a much lower burden of proof, I think he's in trouble. And with that, we'll end this thing here. Nobody's joined yet, but hopefully someday somebody will be soon. And just hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot more of this. And in the meantime, remember the words of Alec Baldwin. Ouch. All righty then. Take care. We'll see you next time on Legal Vices. Bye-bye.